Hi, Martin. I think you can move down if you wish.
Yeah, I think Frank abandoned us.
There was no legal notice. Are there any added agenda items?
So, yes, there's a new application we received that we just got. But you have in front of you actually.
Okay, would that be under receipt of applications, item 6 instead?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the public participation portion of our meeting. Are there any comments from the public for something that's not already on tonight's agenda? Next up, approval of minutes, September 25th, 2018, regular meeting. Any comments, concerns, edits, anything to talk about?
No, I have no problem. No.
Well done, Peg. A lot of writing, a lot of typing. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of meeting 1748.
There is a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Receipt of applications, there was one application of 38 North Road LLC for site plan approval for construction bituminous pavement lot for container storage at 36 North Road. Next up, under performance bonds, actions, permit extensions, road acceptance. Carl T. Landolina, representing Walter E. Bass Jr. owner, requesting a one-year extension through 10/18/2019 for a special use permit / site plan review per chapters 802, 700, and 900 to allow a 20-unit multifamily residential community complex inclusive of 3 affordable housing units, known as McLean Way, located on Winkler Road in North Road.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, good evening. For the record, you understand? Yep. Carl
That makes you
Landolina,
comfortable.
representing Mr. Bass. Mr. Bass received an approval some years ago, and he's been trying to market the property to sell it. So far, he hasn't found a buyer who's willing to take on the construction. He and his brother are looking into getting financing to commence construction themselves, but they need more time to commence construction. So we're here for the purpose of just getting a one-year extension on his approvals. I assume that the regulation that he was approved under really hasn't had any substantial changes, so it's either this or we come back and just bring the same application before you at some later date. That's pretty much it.
Anybody have any questions or concerns?
It's been extended already.
In the past, correct?
I think this might be the third
This is the
time.
last one.
No, it's two.
Correct. So this will be the last one. So it'll be 6 years after
The approval date.
Right.
Original
Okay.
approval date.
Yep, it was 2013. And then just another note in the performance bonds, so it's actually November 26th, 2019, and not October 18th. So that's just that would be the date that would be extended through.
Please say that one more time, November 18th rather than the 26th?
I know, should be November 26th, 2019.
Isn't that already in our memo?
Yeah, yes, but it was wrong.
On the agenda.
Yeah, it was wrong on the agenda.
I get it. If there are no issues or comments, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I make a motion to approve the application of owner Walter E. Bass Jr. requesting a one-year extension for a special use permit / site plan review per chapter 802, 600, and 900 to allow a 20-unit multifamily residential condominium complex inclusive of 3 affordable housing units, McLean Way, located on Winkler Road and North Road. And a memo from Matt Tysinski, CZET, October 4th, 2018. Oh, sorry. This is Map 114, Block 24, Lot 5, all conditions of approval will remain. Extension is granted until November 26, 2019.
There's a motion on the table for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hear none, call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Welcome, have a good day.
Next up, continued public hearings. WSG LLC, special use permit / excavation to allow commercial and sand gravel excavation operation to be done in 4 phases at 4 Wapping Road. Deadline to close the hearing, October 16, 2018.
Hello, everyone. Merrick Kemet from Anchor Engineering. Let me start off by just saying that we're going to be throwing a couple curveballs here right now. We submitted a letter dated October 4th requesting a couple items, or clarifying a couple items. Number one is that there is a technical issue regarding whether it was excavation or filling, if we need 2 applications or 1 application. So what we're going to do is we're going to not amend the existing applications before you. We are only going for the excavation permit. So there will be no filling within this site under this permit. That should clarify a lot of concerns that we have by the commission, town staff, and by the public itself. The second item was that we're also going to withdraw the waiver requesting separation distance from 100 feet to 50 feet on the street line. That will be no longer part of this application either, so we will not be requesting that. Moving forward, if the commission does grant the approval on this, I just want to clarify that according to the memo that the town planner had submitted revised October 4th, conditions number 33 and number 34 need to be deleted, as those 2 do reflect issues related to the filling. Other concerns that were continually raised from the last meeting was there mailing sent to the state of Connecticut? Actually, the mailing was not submitted to the state of Connecticut at that time. The next day it was submitted. It was within the statutory timelines because the public hearing is still open. And I did give notice to town staff this morning for that. There were issues regarding the traffic, the sight line, the width of Wapping Road, the truck traffic. Those are also addressed before you. You should have a supplemental to the traffic report dated September 30th, reflecting all of those conditions. Regarding the sight line itself, you should also have before you an aerial representing a couple pictures in the east and westbound directions. I took those at the entrances or entrance exit. So you can actually visually see for yourself, what the sight line is out there. The sight lines are suitable, which is also referenced in that traffic report. Also in the picture, you can notice that going on the eastbound, you can see that the grade actually goes uphill. You're not going to be able to see directly into the gravel pit. None of the vegetation is going to be cut back over there because we don't have that waiver request anymore. So that's going to remain the same as it is now. The rendering before you also shows the half-mile radius, which was previously approved by this commission from the existing entrance in this location. And you can see our existing or proposed entrance to this pit is outside of that half-mile marker. There is also concern, there was a memo or a letter from the Wetlands Commission stating that there was a possible violation or a condition that was not met of that approval. That had to do with testing results for the fill that is going to be brought in. Once again, we are removing that from this application, and therefore that condition is moot. It doesn't apply to this application. So basically, we beat this thing because our 3rd meeting on this thing. So we feel that we meet the requirements of Section 814 of the zoning regulations. The access, as previously discussed, is outside of the half-mile marker, which was previously approved. There is a neighboring use, which this aerial also shows, of another gravel pit right next door. So this use is not new to the area. The traffic concerns, the sight lines have all been addressed. town engineer's comments, majority of the public comments, and town staff and commission comments have also been addressed, that we feel. And should you need more time, we are prepared to give you an extension. We have a letter in our back pocket ready to go if you need more time to keep this hearing open. But since with the new information of moving the filling operation, I believe we've addressed or removed a lot of the concerns that this town has had. Thank you.
Trying to find the exact section, but I think I did state it earlier, that there's a requirement regarding the notification of the butters before the public hearing. So it's part of the application. So I argue, I think that the original application is flawed. We have before us, I don't know if you're given a copy from the state of Connecticut, they acknowledge receipt of the information that you made reference to, and they don't have enough time to review it. So I am 100% sure, I am not comfortable closing the public hearing tonight. So there's a couple different ways we can move on this. We can keep the public hearing open, and we can ask the folks for an extension, or we can deny the application without prejudice, and we can recycle it and start again. It's very clear regarding what the requirements say. It's before the public hearing is open. In all honesty, the public hearing never should have opened. The application was incomplete.
Well, like I stated, we are prepared to extend the public hearing. If that gives the state more time to be here, provide their concerns or comments, that's fine as well.
Now, in retrospect, I don't know what good it does to deny the application without prejudice. Without prejudice gives you the opportunity to come back within 1 year to reapply if you so choose. I'm more leaning toward asking the applicant for an extension and carrying on, because I'm sure the members of the audience don't want to come back and restate all their concerns yet again.
Statutorily, they have their notice now. With the public being extended, it does give them ample opportunity. That's fine. They've actually had enough opportunity with that notice because it is within the outside of the 10 days that is required anyway for a public hearing. So we're confident that we meet statutorily, but we also understand your concern with that, and that's why we do have that letter with us regarding that issue. Not a problem. Well, would you like that submitted now, or if we're going to be?
I think we're going to continue the dialogue tonight.
And I'll go, yeah, raise it again.
Sure. Before we open up to public comment, are there any initial remarks from the board about something we haven't already talked about, or anything we want to clarify, or anything that was brought, testimony that was brought to us today that we have some questions about?
The only question I have is just, I know that they acknowledge the receipt of the maps and things for this, but we haven't heard back what their timeline is for review from the rail.
That's correct. We haven't heard back about that yet. No, that is the most recent email we have.
Okay. Is that something that you're privy to as far as knowing how long some of this process takes? No? Okay.
No.
I just wanted to know, like, I'm sure everybody wants to know how long will their input take.
Not quite sure.
Okay.
I guess down that same line is there a maximum amount of time that they have to either answer or considered non-answered? There's no timeline set on that?
There's going to be a point in time where we can no longer, we're going to be statutorily running out of time, we're going to be forced to close the public hearing, and we're going to be asked to make an informed decision, yea or nay, based on what we have at that time.
Okay, all right. So if they don't respond in...
It's information we're not going to be privy to.
Yeah.
We'll have to make an informed decision without it.
Okay, and we can do that. Okay, that's what I would...
Absolutely.
All right.
In theory, you could close the public hearing tonight, and they would have the option of appealing it based on something of that kind of technicality, and it would only be them who could appeal it.
Okay. I didn't want them to just hold up everything because they just I don't know how busy they are and,
Yeah.
you know, how paperwork goes.
Do you have any comments?
No, other than if it's just an excavation operation, how will it be left at that point then if still soil can't be bought in? That would be my question that I would want.
Maintained as an agricultural area. We'll have to, see from there. It's going to be a few years down the road, but we don't want to commit to anything right away, but we want to be able to have a proper use for it at the end, but it will remain agricultural.
But it will have to follow the same as other, as phase is complete, it has to be restored back.
Correct.
And remember, it has to be 8 feet above the groundwater table. Still
All
comply with all
the
the.
same regulations that follow excavation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I do have a question on one of the new maps that was handed out tonight, and it speaks to a question I brought up at the last public hearing regarding emergency access. And I see that something is now shown on the drawing at the railroad tracks, emergency access. It looks like there's an existing grade crossing there now. My question to you is, those, who owns, who has permission? Do we have that?
We have it with the state across the railroad tracks. It's written in with the railroad itself, B&W.
We're definitely going to want to see that moving
Yep.
forward. Okay. This is still a continued public hearing. Are there any comments in the audience? I do ask that if you have comments, please state your name and address for the record, please. Who wants to go first? Yes, sir.
Paul Anderson, 89 Main Street, Broadbrook. I was looking at the change that already took place from 1 mile to a half a mile, and I noticed that the way this map defines it is entrance to entrance, yet the actual operations are much closer to that. Is that how the regulation reads? Entrance is the only
I believe it does,
criteria?
Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify it.
Anyone else? Comments, concerns? Yes, ma'am.
Angie Wooding, 21 Plantation Road. We have bald eagles in that area. We have several woodpecker species, one that is very extinct. So I ask that it be denied for environmental purposes.
Thank you. Any other comments or concerns? Yes, ma'am.
Margaret Rickleson, 57 Graham. I'm not sure that you should actually stop the public hearings tonight, because if there is new information, we still have the issue of trucks. We still have the issue of road maintenance from the damage that trucks are going to make. I don't think the applicant's taxes are going to be paying for upkeep on the roads. I don't think the applicant's taxes will cover police monitoring for the after-hours illegal activities that happens in places like this. So, granted he changed things tonight, but this is kind of like new, so I don't think you should close the public hearing. I think you should keep it open so we can study that. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else? Yes, ma'am.
Linda York, 33 Graham Road. I agree also that it should be kept open so we have more information as they bring in more information. I have a couple of concerns. If we're just doing the excavation, at any point can they then say we want to fill?
Not without another application, which would require another public hearing to be noticed.
Okay. And my other concern is the air quality that this is going to change in the area for our whole neighborhood. Last week I talked about the impact on children, and this week I'd like to talk about the impact on senior citizens. Most of us have owned property in that neighborhood for over 40 years. Myself, it's been 41 years. We brought the property to raise our children and then to grow old and enjoy our area throughout. And yet, this is the 5th time we've had our area compromised or threatened. Dump issues, closing the dump issues, doing the nuclear dump, the driving the shooting range. I mean, it seems like every 10 years we're in a major fight for our residential area, which is a nice neighborhood. And as senior citizens, we're dealing with many medical difficulties. One being that our doctors are telling us we have to walk. Well, how can we walk on roads that have, all of this traffic on it? Right now, we have several trucks that go up and down our road. Today I was outside doing some work outside, and in a 15-minute period I counted 10 trucks that went, dump trucks, big dump trucks that went by our house. 15 minutes. Now we're going to add more. It doesn't seem acceptable. So that is very dangerous to us walking. Many of us are dealing with asthmatic or COPD issues, and adding all of that dust to the environment is going to make it very difficult for us. Also, there are some people that are dealing with some Alzheimer's issues or dementia, and having more trucks adds to all of that. So I urge you to really think about what you're doing to our neighborhood once again as you make this decision.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Lori Suzik on Morris Road, 15 Morris Road. With the change in application tonight, and I don't know if we've all had time to think about what it would look like, just being excavated, and what that big pit would look, because now it's a whole different thing. And also, at another meeting we talked about that there was a precedent where we didn't go through agricultural to access commercial. And I don't know if that question was ever fully answered, that would be happening, using agricultural land to access commercial. And then I was reading the paper. There was an editorial from a gentleman named Richard Carabillo, who lives on Windsorville Road, and he's describing, as Linda York did, that at the present time right now, without any added trucks, he's describing air pollution wherever the trucks travel. Some trucks spewing black smoke that leaves a stench lingering for some time, unless the wind carries it off somewhere else. Noise pollution is the worst, with most trucks loud enough to disturb peaceful residential neighborhoods throughout the day. Some think the traffic starts at 7:30. We live on Windsorville Road, a heavily trafficked route with trucks. Trucks start at 6 a.m. 6 a.m., he said. We can attest to the air pollution, noise pollution, road damage, and of course the effect on our property values. So that's, a person who already lives on Windsorville Road, what they're already experiencing right now without any added truck traffic. Air pollution, noise pollution, lowered property values. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Name in the back.
Michelle Malarkey, I live at 43 Graham Road. I have lingering concerns too about the truck traffic. I know in the last hearing you described that the trucks would not be coming and going exclusively from Hartford, but from other areas in the state. So I assume that means that they would access this point from 84, not just 91. It's unclear to me how that wouldn't impact the section of Graham Road that I live on. If you think about it, you get off 84, you go down Buckland, it's a straight shot on Graham. If Morris is not going to be where the trucks turn, which is what was indicated, that means they're going to turn past that point on Graham, or perhaps not, but I would like more clarification, because that seems to be the pattern now, and it's also the first shot where there aren't stop signs and lights, and trucks go down there so incredibly fast. And we live with this, we exist with this, we've been through all the battles. You forgot the wood chipping proposal as well.
Oh, yes.
But it's kind of at a level now that is already sort of the tipping point. I just don't I don't believe that we have the town resources, or that this proposal adequately addresses the reality of trucks. More trucks than probably permitted, earlier trucks, on that, at least that little sliver of Graham Road. Because they're not gonna turn, I'm sure, down on Morris, but we see them turn down there, so. I would like more information.
The truck route plan is going to come in from Windsorville Road to Wapping Road directly, and that's what we're going to provide to the people that are going to access the site. That's the road that we want them to travel on, and that's what we're going to direct them to travel on.
But in reality, they're going to travel the shortest distance from
Well, I
point A to
can't
point B.
control, well, the problem is, we can't control other trucks and other drivers that are already accessing other sites within the town. Right now, the congestion that I'm presuming is going through Graham Road and Plantation Road and going to other facilities other than ours, because ours is not operational right now as it is. But when we do use it, the only sensible way in and out of that property is through Windsorville to Wapping. It's a 500-foot drive, or a 3/4 of a mile drive, where there's no properties from a residential aspect on that road. It's all agricultural, business, or industrial areas, and then it goes into South Windsor. They'll most likely be coming off of, and we're going to direct them to come off of Route 5, come down 5, and then come through that area.
Was your question adequately answered?
I do appreciate that, but I'm also cognizant of time is money, and we're talking about a lot of trucks, and, you know, I think the reality is it's a very straight shot, and I'm sure you're doing everything you could to direct them, but we can't enforce that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to, Carol Aerosmith, 9 Morris Road. I'd like to add to that, this discussion about the trucks and the route. A couple of weeks ago, I sat out for half an hour, and there were 9 trucks that went by down at the base of Morris Road, which is right, you know, Quonset hut is right there, and then the driveway to this proposed pit right there. So these trucks are going to be turning out of there and going, even if they're going past, you know, the agricultural lands. There's a house right on the route, right after the railroad tracks. There is our house that they go right by. And my point is, does it matter if there were 100 houses along that road versus the 2 families that live right on that road and have them go by their house? Each individual family is affected the way they are affected. And to have more, yes, that makes a better case if you have more people saying, it's us, it's us, it's us. But why are the rights of the individuals, 2 individual families, just don't matter? Why should that be? We're still paying our full share of taxes in the town. We still have properties that we care about, and we've kept up for, in our case, 35 years, and I believe those folks have lived there just as long. And then you're talking about going into South Windsor. Those people have no say. It's a fairly populated little area there, and it goes by Rice Street Park if you're going out to Route 5. And, you know, those people have no say. That editorial Lori was talking about was to encourage, pleading with us to please fight this thing, because they don't have any say in it. And why should people, just because they live in South Windsor, have to deal with this?
Currently, right now, you have trucks that are going by your house on, is it Morris or Graham?
We're on the corner of Morris and Wapping.
Corner of Morris and Wapping. There are currently trucks going to the other facilities right now. A good majority of those trucks are trucks that we utilize that are going to the various pits right now. So if we're able to control those trucks, the impact of some of the trucks that you're seeing on the ancillary roads such as Plantation Road and Graham Road and Morris, you know, if we can minimize that impact by controlling the trucks, by controlling the site, you'll probably, or most likely, to see a reduction in the activities that you currently see right now from the trucks that are out there.
Well,
Right now, we can't control those trucks because we don't control the facility. And if we can control the trucks and control the facility, we can control the actions of what they're taking. And, you know, from my perspective, you know, it does not make sense for us to utilize the Morris Road area because it's too steep an incline and it's too quick of a turn. So from a safety standpoint, we wouldn't have our trucks going either up or down that road. So we would like to work with the community. I understand the concerns that they have, and I understand what you've been dealing with in the past. And if we go in and we can make adjustments and work together, this is an impact that we can lessen on every side. And my ears are open to your concerns and comments. I don't know if you have that same open venue with the other facilities that are open right now. But again, we are open to that, and we're open to working with the residents.
And again, my question for the commission would be, again, I think if we could clarify the number of truck trips that they say they will limit it at, that would be extremely helpful. Because as I said, if you're saying 120 trips a day, you divide that by a 10-hour day, that's 12 an hour, that's one every 5 minutes going by, even on that route, depending on, you know, if it's only using one route, you know it's going there.
Right, well, the road was observed by a professional, and they determined that the road was actually only being utilized to 15% of its capacity during the working hours between 7 and 5. So when those activities are taking place with the trucks driving back and forth, I'm assuming a good majority of the residents would be at work, the children would be at school, you know, so there wouldn't be an impact for, you know, safety concerns on that side.
To address that point,
Yep.
Mr. Commissioners, Commissioner, the road is being degraded. We know that. We were approached by the town engineer asking, or don't really know what our rights are in that, to improve the road because it is being degraded. With them requiring a drainage ditch and with widening the road, they were going to require a drainage swale into our property, removing many of our trees. This has not happened, but we do not know the entire, how this was being proposed and looked into. We don't know if it was related to this or not, but we do, our concern, a big one we have, is that that road is going to require widening and upkeep at a level that it's not getting right now, because it is degrading with what's there currently. So the sense is, and since we were approached, my sense is that the town is feeling like that road needs repair, even with what's there currently. So if nothing is even if there's no more truck traffic than there is now, it's a continuation. This pit that's there now that is causing the degradation was supposed to be closing in 10 years. That's now. So this going on and on and on and on and on for the next 30 years is going to degrade that road further, is going to require repairs, is going to require taxpayer money, and probably is going to require our property being cut into. And that's one of the things that we're objecting to here.
I don't know anything about the road per se. That's not part of what we're doing. I'm sure, as Joe might attest, that roads over years are slated for repair as they're going along. I don't know how long or when the last time that road was repaired. So it may be part of the continuing process. As towns go along and the state roads go along, they allocate certain monies for certain roads to be repaired throughout the years, which does not have anything to do with us in terms of what they're planning to do on the roadway.
Mr. and Ms. Commissioners, I'd like to just state that if the road really is being used at 15% capacity, and you're seeing that kind of damage with the trucks, with one truck going by every 5 minutes, then if we can reduce the number of trucks on that road perhaps it won't need the kind of repairs as often as apparently is needed with the trucks on there. It would save money for the town. I think that's all I can say right now. Thank you.
Someone else from the public?
Question. Devin King, 341 Rice Street. At present, you have 3 facilities permitted in that end of the town at 90 trucks a day, is that correct?
I'm not exactly sure what the numbers are.
But
It's probably in the ballpark, yes.
that's 270 trucks a day, and we're going to add another 90? Is this by statute? By our laws, it's 90 trips a day if we give them a permit. Okay.
Where is this
By your own regulations.
There is no regulations regarding truck trips. It's an independent assessment of every application. There is nothing in our zoning regulations saying X amount of facility can only have so many trips. That number does not exist.
You mean there's not a limit on the trips?
There is not. I'm telling you that. There is not.
So it could be anything?
It could be anything. It's for us to decide, for the applicant to make an ask, and for us to see what is reasonable.
So the 3 that are there are 90 a day, correct?
I said I don't remember what the numbers are. You're in the ballpark, yes.
270. He's asking for 100 or 90.
No, he's asking for something different. It's 90 trucks a day, which is 180 trips.
Oh, so it's a trip in and out, so it's even
Right.
worse.
That's what I made an argument last time. People get mixed up regarding the definition, what a truck is and what a trip is.
So
A
it's
trip is a
double.
one-way destination to a location. So what's being asked is 90 trucks per day, which is 180 trips.
On top of what's already permitted in town?
Yes, yes.
I think that's a little excessive for that end?
Apparently, in your opinion, yes it is. Yeah.
I'm just asking.
I haven't made up my mind yet. Yes, sir.
Richard B. Pittman Jr. One thing should be clarified. You've heard testimony here for Windsorville Road, when we're in fact on Wapping Road. Windsorville Road doesn't start until the town line in South Windsor. And this may confuse you in the minutes by not stating the proper road. I doubt if they drive all the way up around Windsorville and then through Broadbrook to get anywhere. But that should be in the record that way, defining the town that you're talking about.
You had a comment earlier you wanted to make?
Yeah, the initial assessment by the traffic report had said that 120 trucks would be sufficient for this project. I think we dial it down to 90 trucks or trips.
No.
Which, 90?
The second sentence says 90 trucks per day, which is 180 trips.
Correct, no, but I'm saying in terms of the assessment from the report that we
Okay.
had, it was at 120. I think what we talked about previously was 90. Just because it has 90 trucks per day in there doesn't necessitate that we're going to have 90 trucks every single day in and out of that facility. That's something that may occur, at random times or events when you're having a high spike in volume.
Right, it's a maximum threshold. It's like a speed limit on a road. That's
Exactly,
a maximum
it's going to
threshold.
be a
in theory.
maximum threshold. You're not going to be exceeding that or going over that or even getting close to that at all the time.
Understood. Other comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Angie Wooding, 21 Plantation Road. Exactly where they will be coming in and out of, there are the tractors that go up over that road and down over that road many, many times a
What,
day.
can you clarify what that road is?
That's one.
Plantation.
On Plantation Road. So what's going to happen with that many trucks going through there? That road's not really wide, so that's a big concern, because those trucks go pretty fast, and those tractors only do about 15 miles an hour, especially when they're pulling the hay, which they use really long 20-foot, 30-foot trailers that they pull the hay on. And, it's nice to watch the tractors go by. So that's a big concern.
Okay.
They probably make 20, 30 trips back and forth.
Just to respond to that question, for the board's reference, there's no intention for any of our vehicles to go down Plantation Road. It does not make sense. It's out of the way. So I just wanted to make that statement.
Stanley?
Stan Plesky, 354 Rye Street. All right, a little clarification to that last comment there. Those tractors are tobacco ratings. They usually run during, you also have hay operations. Those operations go from South Windsor, from Windsorville Road, turning into Wapping Road. They run up, now there's a new farmer that's renting Molnites, Frank, it's out of Suffield. They're also running hay and also running Riggins also there too. Plantation Road is Markowski's. You also have traffic coming from the Fosters, from Ellington, from Pitney Road, down through Windsorville Road, Plantation Road, same tractors, same Riggins, farm equipment all coming through. I had the pleasure of Monday spending the day, taking the day off to do yard work. I intended to sleep in until about 7. That didn't happen because the one before 7, the first truck started to roll by and the jake brake came on. So I said to the board that if we do approve this, we put a limit on them because they can't use the jake brake. I had one more truck. I left the house at 7:30, got back probably 10:30. I watched that guy come by the house at least 7 times. One of the orange trucks, it happens to be what they call Wildcat. These guys, no name, just DOT reg, nothing on the side of it. You'll find them removing snow, doing whatever haul. That's probably what you're gonna have. They're gonna find it first. The moment they let off, jake brake full time. Really, and then he had at least another 8 friends coming on through, besides your regular Lowe's traffic and all the other truck traffic that comes down through Rye Street, and I live on Rye Street. That particular section that you come up over and come down into South Windsor and this is a South Windsor issue, that is a blind hill as you come up over that hill. I don't think anybody in South Windsor has ever been notified to it. But I urge you that no jake brakes, because it was absolutely horrible all day. As soon as they hit the corner on Rye Street, right by the South Windsor line, they load off. They hit any one of the culverts, they load off. You get the jake brake. And I think in the retraction of the fill half of it, because I spent a little time and looked on Google to see how many builders actually have to pay to get rid of their fill. That's not going to happen. The only time that they do is when they get paid to bring the fill into remediation sites or sites that have to be covered back over. And looking at the lay of the land and that, I can't see that being brought back to agricultural use, is with the buffers that are there and actually being removed. Whatever, that's my point of view. Your track crossing for the second emergency entrance is you have to go down Markowski's property and then go over the tracks to get into the old wagon shed property which he bought. So you're crossing, again, somebody else's property to get in there for emergency access. Your other access that was there was the right-of-way. Planning and zoning, or zoning board of appeals, if I remember correctly, there was a lot of discussion when they had wanted to bring environmental services stuff in and they were going to run down the side of the tracks. That right there has concrete blocks that are in place that can't be opened quickly for any access to get into there. So you're probably stuck, unless Markowski says it's okay, one entrance in and out. Another 120 trucks, granted, they're not going to go over, they're going to go to shortest route, wherever they decide to go. And there's only going to be a certain amount of limit that they can do to these unquote Wildcat truckers that are coming in. It's coming back to the quality of life. Before I had said that I'll probably be leaving in 10 years, that might have changed in the last time that I've been here, and other developments. So in 10 years, no, I'm done. I want to sleep in past 7 o'clock. Come summertime, school's out, you got the kids out there. on either one of, any one of the roads that's there. You got the kids, they're gonna be out, people are gonna be out. So it isn't just during the school year that these guys are running, they're gonna run all year long. So it's, I'm going back to that quality of life, and I don't think another set of trucks is really gonna do us much good.
Stanley, were you able to get an assessment where these trucks, you said this past Monday?
These
Monday was a
trucks-
holiday, there shouldn't have been any trips to any of the current permanent
if I'm
operations.
correct, they were possibly going to Holden's. That's where I'm guessing, but they're all Wildcat, no name on the side of it. I hate to use it, but most of the guys, do snow removal for West Hartford and them. A lot of the guys are Jamaicans. The trucks are absolutely gorgeous. I mean, they're spotless. You can see yourself in the paint job. And I mean, that one orange one really stood right out, but everybody's going down through. And I saw a lot of construction sites are out on Monday. But these guys are still booking down the road.
Thank you.
Yep.
Someone else? Yes, ma'am? You.
Oh, sorry, it's a man.
Yes, you, sorry.
I'm answer, ma'am. I'm not that old yet. Carol Aerosmith, 9 North Road. So I have a couple of questions. The fill application coming in later. Are abutters going to be notified of that at that time? And if they choose to do the fill on an area, for instance, where we are no longer 100 feet away from that area where they're going to be filling, would we be considered an abutter? So I have concerns about that, about how, are we going to have to really be on top of the newspaper every single second for the next 30 years to see this coming up? Because, as I said before, the only reason most of us even know about this at all is because we got notified. Thank you.
Did you see the public hearing signs out loud in front of the property?
We see it when we go down there. We don't always go down that way because we go up to Graham a lot of times to go, just sometimes we go by.
There's 4 mechanisms where you might be included. Town website, where all legal notices are published, paper grade of circulation, the Journal Enquirer, legal notices are published there, posting along the frontage, in a mailing if you're within
Right.
100 feet of the property line.
Right.
And I don't know exactly as the crow flies whether or not you'd be within 100 feet.
So you're saying if, for instance, the fill operation was going to be off in that corner over there in the northeast.
West of
over
the
there,
tracks.
It's going to be what? It's all
Well,
west of the tracks?
I believe so. That's where, if I'm not mistaken, it was west of the tracks. Merrick, was that correct?
Well, it would be the property itself would be under the application, so
Okay.
whoever was
Be the
notified
whole-
prior would still be notified for the
So
next.
it'll be the
Okay.
whole property?
Fair enough.
And yes, it's the
All
entire
right.
property.
Okay, the other question I have is the emergency exit, the emergency access to this property, does that also have to be within further than a half mile?
No.
It could be anywhere.
The half mile is for a public access or a driveway, right? The emergency access, no.
Okay, all right, well, that just answers that question. And I just wanted to, it is very true that other sites are using a lot of trucks. I mean, the other day I went, I believe it was Friday, I was taking my dog to the vet, and I was driving through along Wapping Road to Windsorville into Broadbrook. And on that little stretch from where Graham and Wapping come together in the V by Mulnights to Charbonneau's Pit, there were 5 trucks. In the time that I drove there were 5 trucks going and coming. And that was like a minute. So I know that they're using a lot of that traffic, and they all went up Graham. So I mean, we know that there's different trucks using different routes and all of this, but it adds up. It just adds up and adds up and adds up, and I think enough? When is enough? That's my big question, when is enough? Okay, that answers my questions, thank you.
Anyone else? Ma'am?
Margaret Rigleson, 57 Graham. And again, regarding the trucks, I know you don't put limits on them because you can't.
We have the right to, but there is not any prescribed number in our regulations as a
Okay.
beginning.
So you don't have to.
Right. We don't have to,
put
but we
limits.
do.
And also, there's no way, there's still no way to control it. I mean, there could be limits, but there's no way to monitor, no way to monitor it and enforce it. We don't have that capability in our police force. We don't have it. So anything could happen, anything could be done. There could be more trucks, they could be working Saturdays and Sundays. I mean, I was out Monday also, there were trucks on the road. So there's no way to control it. And that's what I'm telling you. We're going to see trucks. We're going to see more trucks. Thank you.
Sir in the back?
Austin Burke, 43 Graham Road. I don't think the nighttime use of this sand pit, opening up a new area, has been addressed in terms of security concern, these ATV, drug activity, all this partying. Now we're opening up a new area. The police force, as it now stands, is not enforcing it. That's going to make the enforcement issue even larger, possibly, maybe even inviting more people than are going there. You mentioned dust pollution earlier from excavation operations. You get micron size pieces of rock, which when inhaled can cause silicosis in the lungs. This is a health concern. Given the sort of sandstone substrate here, we also have to worry about mobilization of heavy metals. As rainwater percolates through the rock into the groundwater. How's that going to be addressed? In addition, I'm going to echo all the assertions about truck traffic. We have enough as is. I can see no upside to this, either from a tax standpoint. If our property value is lower, you're going to lose revenue when we're reassessed, and there's increased maintenance, infrastructural stuff.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Let me come up again. Stan Plesky, 34 Rice Street. The possibility is that it might have been two Charbonneaus and not Holden's in the recycling facility because the trucks are too clean to probably be dropping rocks into. To address the ATV concerns, so if you stand out on Saturday or Sunday and you look out, don't bother opening your garage or have anything out because everybody that's driving by usually doesn't have a Connecticut tag. You've got U-Hauls from Massachusetts with a pickup loaded full of ATVs. I've talked to the police on it. Every once in a while you get an officer set up on Plantation Road and they're coming by on a regular basis. I mean, and you've got a full trailer with 6 to 7 of them stood up all like this, and they're all headed up, and then you got a van load or a car load of somebody else. That's going to happen during the weekend. Right now, and our officers have went down there, they found shell casings, and decided it was time to leave. So if you look at the corner of Markowski's, that on Plantation Road, that shed mysteriously burned. Heraldi had all of his equipment in that particular area. If I remember correctly, how the story goes, he complained about the ATVs. He lost all kinds of windows. So the moment that you start to have you start to address it, they seem to come back on it. Not looking for an increase in ATV and motorcycles coming from Hartford, and you've got them. They're outside, they're from Springfield, they're from outside of our community, and they're traveling to get here. If you look on, or you do a Google search, you'll find The Pit, and there's some sort of a website that's on there that they go down there. So it's just going to be an extension of it.
Thank you. So why don't we talk about illegal access to the site for a moment. Certainly it's a concern. In my view, it's going to happen whether or not this is approved or not. Either way, it shouldn't happen. Talk to the police department. They say you've got to call them often. You got to make a report where it doesn't exist. They don't have the resources. I personally tried calling the chief myself to have him so I could talk more intelligently about this, but he was not available for comment. but I'm going to still try. So do you have any plan mitigation regarding how to keep nuisance?
I went out to the site last week, and I went over to the backside where the tobacco farms are on the west side of the property. And one of the areas that was of a concern to me, I think I had mentioned that in the previous meeting, that the guys came up there and I had called the police, the same situation. And the police were able to boot them out of there. We got them out. But again, obviously this is a concern of mine as it is of everybody else's here. And they went in and somebody from the tobacco farm knocked over a tree and plowed it up and blocked it off. So I was very happy with that. I think if some of the residents arrive by the entrance of the property tomorrow morning if they want to, when they go by, we put in a brand new fence or a gate. So there's a fence on one side and there's a gate to block people in, because there was an old gate that was there that was just trommeled down and it was of no use. So we use that to keep people out of there. We got a lock on it, and when the guys are coming in and out, we unlock it and close the gate back up. And obviously it's going to be more stringently managed if we get approved and we're at the facility itself. Then there's another gate access that's to I think the north, in the middle of Wapping Road, that had been down before. Guys were going in there and trying to get into the property. We put up a chain across it, and we've linked that in. One of the things we need to do is I was going to get another gate and put a permanent gate up on the property right there. And I think, as Marek had mentioned too, there are other areas where you have a steep embankment that's going up and there's a lot of vegetation and trees, so it's difficult for them to get through on that part of it. One of the things that we may potentially do is throw in some thorn bushes or something like that to kind of keep them out of it, and that may be something that we could do. I mean, I can only control what's on our property. I can't control what's going on over at the Holden property or the Charbonneau property.
Understood.
I can't control things that are going on right now as they already are going on, but I can limit what we can do on our property.
So forget a moment about the expense. How practical would it be to fence in your entire property?
The property itself, if you look at it, the front portion of it on the roadside is already fenced off, but there are gaps in it. We'll probably string barbed wire across the fence that's already there to strengthen that, and I think by installing more bushes and shrubbery like we talked about, that's going to be a further deterrent that's out there. I think that if you actually have a presence out there, that's also going to be a deterrent. Not that we're going to be out there on the weekends or anything like that, but if there's something that comes into play where somebody calls me and lets me know that something's going on, we're more than happy to go out there and take care of it. There are options that we can have out there to ensure that it's more secure on our property than it is currently right now.
Anyone from the board have questions or comments?
Yeah,
Maybe for tonight?
I got a comment. Being a local, as of 50 years in this town, there's about 1,000 different ways to get in that pit. You could fence off the whole front.
But I can only control what's on our property. I can't
Understood.
control.
But there's a million ways to get through the back. There's
Potentially, yes.
I know, I've been there.
Right, yeah. I was pleased to see that the tobacco farm actually pushed up a little mound and knocked some of the trees down. I was very happy with that. Are there more areas that I can do on our property? I'm sure, but I got to find out what the extent of the property is.
That will stop a quad about 3 vents.
Yeah.
Hate to tell you that.
With that said, RCPC has a gate around it, Herb Holden's place, Recycled Concrete Products of Connecticut.
Yep.
And there's a spot you can walk through about this wide, and dirt bikes just go through that, through the bushes. They're gonna find their way, and I personally think the only way to stop that is to have a pit open on Saturday and Sunday.
If you have people there, they're not gonna come.
Yeah, you got a loader chasing a kid around on a quad, he's not gonna come back.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And as far as the truck traffic, I woke up, I live on Rockville Road, which is right near here. I woke up at 2:30 by a motorcycle flying by, and then like 3:30 by a Subaru or Civic with a straight pipe on it, so I think that's worse than a truck, personally. I don't sleep during the day.
Peg, do you need a break or you're?
Wouldn't mind one, yeah. If you're a spot lead.
Are there any other comments from the public? Anything else on the board at this time?
Yeah, I'd like to ask maybe of staff that, can we find out from Lenny, has he done an assessment of Windsorville or Wapping Road? Does he give it a rating as to?
There already is a published study.
Okay, so.
And the state gives every municipality, it's called TAR, Town Aid for Roads. I think it's $200,000 or $300,000 East Windsor gets every year.
Yeah.
And the town elects to, I'm sure they have a plan and they spend it where they can.
Where do these roads stand in his plan? As
Don't
far
know.
as-
Good question.
We could find that out. What his assessment of the road has been and where it sits in his plan as far as resurfacing or maintenance or road improvements on those roads.
I know last year they were gonna do Wells Road and they ran out of money. So,
I'm sure he has a 5-year plan or he has roads rated at a certain level and prioritized, so I'd just like to know where those roads lie in his priorities.
I can reach out to Lenny and talk to him about that.
Thank you.
So I have a question regarding emergency access. So my understanding, you have rights to use that, but who would actually be using that? Is that for vehicular access, emergency vehicular access regarding from the police department and fire department? How would they get there? Let's say for whatever reason the main access is closed off and there's a reason to access the site from this emergency access near the railroad tracks. How would an emergency vehicle get to that point?
Well, I understand the concern there, and what I want to do is I want to reevaluate that entrance and access way. There are 2 existing access points off of Wapping Road now, and it doesn't make sense, why wouldn't we use what's already existing there now? So I want to kind of look into that since we're going to open up the public hearing. Let me get you a better fine answer for that.
Okay.
And more logical that way. I believe the original intent was to have it as a secondary access, not necessarily an emergency access. And I think I may have just called it that out of some notion, but let me look into that one and can get back to this commission.
Lori Suzik, 15 Morris Road. I've been here to all 3 meetings, and I guess I'm pretty much ready to call it a night, but I just want to reiterate one more thing. I guess I think what major concern is for most residents are all quality of life. Air pollution, noise pollution, property values. It just impacts our quiet residential life. We already have enough trucks in town, and I just feel like it just ruins our quality of life even more than we have to put up with already. And I just don't see any, except for a commercial venture where the people who do it make out financially because they can profit. But for the people in the area, I think we're all here because it impacts our quality of life. I've lived here for 35 years on Morris Road, and I actually never felt safe walking on Graham Road or any of the streets around here. I actually drive to South Windsor and walk to Nevers Park every day. I don't ever feel safe walking with the truck traffic that we've always had. And anything more than we have, I think it's too much. I worry about the air pollution, noise pollution, and again, the property value being diminished. And just the peace and quiet that I enjoy in our neighborhood.
Thank you.
Can I say one last thing?
Carol, is it?
Carol,
yes.
9 Morris Road.
Got it right, thank you.
Thinking of what Laura just said, today alone, I was going to South Windsor, so driving on Wapping Road towards Windsorville Road, going up past the railroad tracks, up that curve that you cannot see, and we talked about that last week where 2 trucks passing there have worn away it looks like the dirt bikers have been up there because it's all worn away on the side there. And honestly, this truck was coming down at me as I was going up, and I was going over toward that side of the road, and there was a big log. I don't know where it came from, but there was like this big log on the side of the road. So I was not able to do that. And the thought crossed my head, I'm lucky that there was just enough room to pass that truck without getting killed. If I had, tried to get over to the side of the road, I that log, I don't know what it would have done. And so, you know, I just thought that was in my head. And so that road needs to be addressed there, definitely. That's a problem that is clear right now. It's, you know, that is a very steep hill right there where that home is up there. And I don't know how they're going to address it. It's like the whole road needs to be straightened or something and changed because that is extremely dangerous. So the road issues are scary as they are, and just adding, again, more or the same trucks for a longer period of time is not going to help things.
Thank you. So at this point, I think it's be appropriate to ask you for an
been prepared, so here's a letter asking for the extension. I believe statutorily we have 65 days from next Tuesday. Is the post, if I'm not mistaken? 16th? Yeah. So 65 days beyond that would be the, that's correct, up to that time. Hopefully we won't need the full time, but.
Why don't we just take care of business and close this and continue the public hearing? So what will the date be for 65-day extension? You have a date scoped out for that? You don't want to do it the exact date. Until the end of November 25th? The second meeting in November?
December. Yeah, we're to December.
December?
60 days is into December.
65 days.
Well, we could be here on Christmas, I guess.
You could be here, we won't.
You're gonna get
cold and you're I come with you a lot, they'll double our salary here.
Mine too.
20 times here. So what is the second meeting in December?
The second meeting in December would be.
Whatever that date is.
We only have one meeting in December.
Yeah, that's right.
It's December 11th.
So we'll continue the meeting to December 11th.
Well, we're just extending the public.
Correct.
It had,
We're to close
the deadline to close.
Deadline
which
closed by December 11th.
I think if it was 65 days, it'd be Thursday, December 20th.
That's the date it should be, December 20th. Deadline to close, right? So the motion would be grant the applicant's request to extend the to close the public hearing by December 20th.
I make a motion to extend the application WSJ until WSG LLC until December 20th, 2018 for the public hearing on the ground pit.
There's a motion on the table for an extension to close the date of the public hearing to December 20, 2018. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Here are none. I call for vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll be back on the agenda in a couple of weeks, I assume?
Yes, I will coordinate with Matt. I know that two commissioners are not going to be present for the next meeting. Both the chair and co-chair are not going to be here, and I don't know if they're going to have a quorum, so that wouldn't be a good meeting to try to get on the agenda with. So I encourage the members of the audience to refer to the town webpage regarding when this might be scheduled again. They're not legally required to send out any additional notices. There won't be any more notices in the paper. The best thing to do is call the town hall to find out when this public hearing will be continued to, or look on the town website. All that information is published there. Any questions? I have a hunch it will not be 2 weeks from tonight. It will not be.
Is it during the normally scheduled?
It would be during the normally scheduled
So
meeting,
just look in
correct.
the normal
The
spot.
2nd and 4th is when the commission meets, a Tuesday of every month.
How
Our
far-
schedule is also published.
How far ahead are the agendas published? So we know
Generally
it's on
about 10 days before, a week, 7 days before.
7 days.
Always call the town hall, planning development office if you're not sure. Thank you. Have a motion?
Can I make a motion for a 5-minute break?
There's a motion for break. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
It's like a 50-year.
You go right ahead. Have a good time.
You're right.
I don't know how. Yeah, I'm gonna have to invite you guys over for Thanksgiving.